How a person feels about himself is one of the most significant ingredients that defines their level of success. In the Kirkwood program, the development of high self-esteem is one of the foundational ingredients. This multidimensional construct is the very basis of the program. In the early 1970s, the state of California made an attempt to restructure all of our elementary programs. The objective was to develop completely individualized, continuous progress programs with continuums in the affective and the cognitive domain. Programs that would enhance self-esteem, making education as individualized and as diagnostic as possible in meeting the individual needs of each student. At that time, I was chairman for the board committee for the implementation of those objectives in the Downey Unified School District, a position I held for a number of years. At the same time, I invested 7 years in the development and construct validation of the primary pictorial self-esteem test and intervention strategies that would help students with low self-esteem. But the problem was that the state of California moved away from the mandate of the 70s. And at the same time, I recognized that the amount of resources it took to help a child with low self-esteem, if we invested those same resources, we could develop a program so that no child would develop low self-esteem. And this became the foundation and the genesis of the Kirkwood program.
To help meet the state mandate, I invested 7 years in the development and construct validation of the primary pictorial self-esteem test and corresponding intervention programs that would help low self-esteem students. While the test was highly acclaimed and the intervention strategies showed great promise, the state of California had a change in leadership which resulted in a movement away from the mandate of the 1970s. I also recognized that treating low self-esteem students required more resources and human effort than having programs that directly developed high self-esteem in all students. It was out of this background that Pathways to Success was birthed, with self-esteem as a principal component. According to the theoretical structure of Pathways to Success, there are 3 components that work together to produce high levels of motivation. These are high teacher expectation, high self-esteem, and value development. In terms of self-esteem, we believe that people tend to do those things that make them feel good, that make them feel successful, that make them feel confident. Correspondingly, we tend to avoid, like the plague, things that make us feel like a failure, that make us feel incompetent. We are motivated to do those things that make us feel good, successful, and competent. Pathways to Success has been designed so that every time a child puts forth energy into working to learn, a positive affective experience is created. With a multitude of these experiences occurring daily, over time the child will slowly but steadily increase his or her investment into working to learn. Children become more motivated as shown in the following chart. At the beginning, 2 and 3-year-olds, the children average 2.2 work units per lab. By 3rd grade, the same children will complete 9.8 work units per lab. Children are working with a high level of motivation for all the time on task. Self-esteem is made up of the affective evaluations that a person has about himself in a particular area. We believe that there's actual concrete experiences that define how a person feels about himself. These are called affective experiences, actual experiences that take place in time and space that define how a person feels about himself. Now to illustrate, if I were to ask you how you felt about yourself in a particular area, for example, as a public speaker, and you were able to get into your feelings, what would be forthcoming into consciousness as actual experiences that you've had? You could write each one of them down. Perhaps good experiences, and perhaps some not so good experiences. Take another example. how you felt about yourself in an entirely different area, as an athlete, as a runner, or as a golfer. You could feel completely different about yourself as an athlete than a public speaker. The reason that you could feel differently is because each area requires and develops different skills and abilities. The same thing is true academically. If you could go back to your elementary years and really get into your feelings, what would be forthcoming into consciousness is actual experiences that you've had that define how you felt about yourself as a student. If you wrote each one of them down, those would be the ingredients that would have made up your feelings about your academic abilities when you were in elementary school. There are basic ingredients that make up self-esteem experiences. The first is the behavioral element. The experience took place in time and space. It has dimension. It has point-to-itness. Like any experience, it can be recalled back into memory. You can picture it in your mind. You can draw a picture of it. The second component is the affective feeling state. The affective state can range from feeling good, confident, successful, all the way to the other end of the continuum of feeling bad, inconfident, feeling like a failure. We've all had both types of experiences. What we're trying to do in the program is to systematically create as many positive affective experiences as we can and avoid the creation of any negative affective experiences. The third element of an affective experience is the evaluative element. For an experience to be interpreted by an individual, giving him an affective feeling state, there must be some sort of interpretive structure in place. For example, in the traditional grading system, the interpretive structure is the meaning of the grades. What does the letter A mean? It is only when the student understands that receiving an A on an assignment means excellent or outstanding that he or she will feel good about the effort put forth. The student's understanding the value of an A is the interpretive structure, and it must be taught. Correspondingly, a B has a different interpretive structure, as does a C, a D, or an F. This is a traditional grading continuum ranging from success and competency all the way to failure and incompetency. For positive affective experiences to occur, the meaning of the happy face on the page, the work unit oval filled in, the star for goal completion, the super worker award, and so forth must be taught. We only provide interpretive structure for positive experiences. For a new teacher mastering the program, the first focus is the creation of positive affective experiences in lab every time the child puts forth energy into working to learn. The child's effort is validated for both completion of the learning exercise or completion of the work set, plus mastery of the concept being taught. It should be noted that the main emphasis is upon the investment of energy. Energy is a commodity that a young child has in abundance. The objective is to create a positive affective experience every time he or she puts forth energy into working to learn. It is never a comparative competitive reward system where one child is compared to another to determine levels of success. Also, a significant dimension of self-esteem of the child takes place as a result of the interactions with the teacher. A dimension of self-esteem occurs as a function of reflection of a significant other, i.e. a teacher. The view that the teacher holds in her mind of the child will help define how that child sees himself. If a teacher believes that the child has significant worth and value, that view will be reflected to the child and thereby becomes part of his or her self-image. The handheld Android is a tool enabling the classroom teacher to easily monitor each student's work production and to be able to give work unit credit when checking students' completed learning exercises. The objective is to make it as easy as possible for the teacher to meet the individual needs of each student. Guidelines for the use of the Android are as follows. Preschool. Color-coded names are used to indicate which child is assigned to which teacher within a classroom of 24. 12 students on the Android with the capability of scrolling to the other half of the class. Next to each student is tracking work production. The tracking is the same as the student's work production tracking with empty ovals at the beginning of the lab. When the child clicks on Mr. Pencil Send, an empty oval is highlighted or turns to a certain color. With the exception of exercises that require immediate teacher attention, the student is instructed to move to the next lesson after Mr. Pencil Send is clicked. For block design, building numbers, and puzzles, the student is instructed to wait for the teacher. This process provides a real-time indicator of where each student is at in terms of his work production. It also enables the teacher to select students who need to be checked off. Certain exercises such as block designs and puzzles are indicated with different color to alert the teacher of their priority. The teacher selects the student to be checked off by clicking by name. When the student's name is clicked on, a new screen appears. It contains the following information: real-time work production tracking box with work completed for each lab during the day. Pages by number to be checked off. Ovals within work production tracking for the teacher to give credit. Teacher checks off the student's exercise, draws a smile on the cartoon character in the student's workbook, then clicks on the appropriate oval in the tracking on her Android computer screen. Mr. Pencil places a disk on the student's computer screen and gives work unit credit in the work production tracking box. The process enables the teacher to praise and validate the student and thereby create a positive affective experience. When the goal is achieved, the star lights up with verbal and visual affirmation. Additional ovals are added if time permits for the student to continue working. All pages and exercises will have Mr. Pencil Send. Elementary school students. For students working in curriculum that does not require the teacher to give work unit credit, their work unit credit will automatically appear on the teacher's Android. At this level, the Android screen will show all students in the class by scrolling. At higher character levels, the process works independently of teacher or parent. When a student answers the last question on any particular assignment, Mr. Pencil places a disk in the student's work production tracking box, at which time verbal and visual affirmations are given. Probably the most important achievement that a child does during the lab is the completion of his goal. In recognition of a student's goal, a star is highlighted on the student's work production tracking box. The program gives significant verbal and visual validation. The teacher or parent should add to the reinforcement process. Reinforcement becomes more powerful for each work unit completed beyond the goal during the lab. After the child completes his goal and receives his star for the lab, he should continue working until time for everyone to clean up. For preschool, work units completed after the star will not need to be checked off until the next lab. The computer program automatically knows the remaining time left in the lab period and will instruct the student on his opportunity to continue to learn. As the teacher is monitoring the lab, she should verbally praise and recognize children who are actively engaged in working to learn. While moving from one student whose work she has just checked to another with his hand raised, the teacher can praise and validate children as she's walking by. The validation can simply be a smile, a thumbs up, or a statement such as, "I'm proud of you for working hard. You're doing great. Super. Fabulous. Good job." Validation reinforces the child's confidence. As the teacher walks through the lab, she needs to ask questions at the cutting edge of what the child is working on. The process is to structure reinforcement, not to catch the child who does not know the concept yet. The process also builds a positive learning environment. This process works well for numbers and alphabet. When checking a child's completed work, it is important to ask questions in terms of concept mastery. This helps focus the objective on learning, not simply work production. Plus, it provides the opportunity to praise and validate the child. At no time should a child be put down or given any negative reinforcement for lack of concept mastery. If he does not know, simply tell him or teach him. Interpretation of concept mastery in terms of being smart or brilliant are always appropriate at times to be stated. But under no circumstances should a negative evaluation ever be given to a child in terms of his learning ability. No negative interpretive structure is to ever be put into the child's self-structure. Children can receive a bonus work unit in most of the lessons in the Project Learning series. In books 4 to 8, if the child can name the numbers or letters at the end of the lesson, he receives a bonus work unit. The rationale is the reward for effort the child puts into mastery of the material. Normally, if a child listens and actually works at the lesson, he will have the ability to immediately recall the material. The bonus work unit is a reward for that effort. The child should be routinely praised and validated for his effort. The interpretive structure of the child being smart and capable needs to frequently be stated. An awards ceremony is conducted during the last 15 to 30 minutes of the last lab on Friday. The older the children and the larger the group will in part determine the time required for an effective presentation. The most powerful positive affective experience occurs when the student has invested heavily into reaching his objective of getting his goal every lab. When that accomplishment is publicly recognized and validated by the teacher and fellow classmates, a powerful positive affective experience is the result. The award ceremony is an opportunity that the teacher needs to carefully structure and plan to achieve maximum effect. It is appropriate to indicate the student's work production average, the total if it's significant. Anytime a student raises his goal or takes a step of growth in terms of committing himself to the next level of character growth, he should receive recognition and validation with significant pomp and ceremony. These significant steps of growth do not occur every week and need to be treated accordingly. A series of different certificates of achievement are used in the program for recognition at each character level. The certificate becomes more sophisticated with each advanced level. The purpose is to recognize and validate the student's growth and increased responsibility. Where applicable, the award shows the student's work units completed during the past week, the student's goal, and the curriculum completed in each subject area during the past week. The award is presented both on the computer with appropriate recognition and in the public ceremony. Never should a child be publicly or privately embarrassed for not having achieved his goal or objective. If the award is not presented, the child's name is simply not mentioned. The teacher needs to communicate the empowering message that she believes that the child is capable of putting forth the necessary effort, and next week is a whole new beginning. The same message is communicated to the student through the computer program, along with work unit completed during the week. The entire structure of the Kirkwood Educational Program is designed to enable the student to experience his own success. With each different character level advancement, the student both takes on greater responsibility and benefits with greater degrees of freedom. The process enables the student to concretely experience the self-validation that comes with achievement and self-direction. Throughout the program, the student is taught that he is truly the author of his own life and success. The program provides a pathway of independency through growth and responsibility and educational success. A fundamental part of the teacher's expertise is her ability to naturally and habitually create positive affective experiences. Doing so is a training and growth process for the teacher. There are a number of different things a teacher can do to grow in her ability to create these experiences. First, she must understand the importance of developing high self-esteem in each student, and that her creation of positive affective experiences are the building blocks of self-esteem. Second, the teacher should list as many different positive verbal affirmations as possible. This is critical that she doesn't use the same affirmation over and over again. The more variety and intensity that she employs, the greater the chances for positive reinforcement. The teacher can use a variety of phrases such as great, Good job. I'm proud of you. Fabulous. Wonderful. Super. Be proud of yourself. You are so smart. You are great. You are doing great, and so forth.
You're a smart girl. I'm so proud of you. What about
The teacher should attempt to continually add to her repertoire of positive verbal affirmations. It is also necessary to change the level of intensity to match the situation. Third, the teacher needs to think through and explore all the different smiles and positive facial expressions. The same smile over and over again becomes less effective than a variety in the creation of positive affective experiences. Most people have a legion of different expressions. The teacher needs to grow in her ability by consciously making herself use different expressions. Fourth, it is also important to use appropriate touch in creating positive affective experiences. Touch is very powerful. The forms of appropriate touch should vary. A simple touch on the hand, a pat on the shoulder, a high five, a touch on the arm or head, a hug. With all the positive different verbal reinforcements, smiles and facial expressions, and appropriate touches, the number of possible permutations is legion. For the teacher, this takes work and practice. It doesn't happen automatically. But with effort, the teacher can become a powerful reinforcer and producer of all of these important experiences for the child. If over time the creation of these experiences do not become part of the character and personality of the teacher, a reassessment of teaching young children should occur. It should be noted that while the immediate focus is on the creation of positive affective experiences in lab, the teacher needs to also create as many of these experiences as possible while in the play yard or during other activities. It is highly appropriate for the teacher to validate children for good character behavior, such as sharing, acts of kindness, expressing love to classmates or parents, etc. For a more complete discussion, the teacher can refer to the booklet, The Systematic Development of High Self-Esteem and Positive Self-Concept in Young Children, particularly chapters 7 through 10. One of the things I want you to do after you look at this video is to think of your experiences in lab, how you create positive affective experiences. It's not just giving a child a smile at the bottom of the page or filling in the oval, or even if he's completed his goal of giving him a star. These are all the mechanics. It's the stage in which the experience takes place. It takes genuine excitement, practice, and effort. The result is a sense of accomplishment shared with the child in celebration of his effort. As you develop this expertise, you will truly provide and build the ingredients that make up self-esteem in young children. Self-esteem evolves from praise and recognition for achievement and accomplishment to self-esteem or confidence based upon self-satisfaction and esteem for setting one's own goals and accomplishing them. Self-esteem becomes more internalized based upon character and living committed to one's own values rather than a result of external praise and rewards. Self-esteem becomes more self-satisfaction and self-identity tied to personally defined character. This transformation is a natural process based upon values and self-authorship. The foundational building blocks are critical at preschool and for primary-age children. Without high self-esteem as a foundation, later stages of self-esteem and character are hindered.